Hi, everybody. My name's Jason.
I'm Caden.
I'm Jaden.
I'm Yah.
And we are the Yahoo and the Torah channel. We thank you guys very, very much. Some of us are still asleep in here. It's been a long week. How you guys doing?
Good.
Everyone alive?
Yep.
All right. We are the family who believes what, gentlemen?
The law, statutes, and commands of our Creator, of Yahuwah. His name is not Lord or God, because those are titles. That is not his name. His original name in Hebrew is Yahuwah, and we should be keeping his laws. They are not abolished. His son, Yahushua HaMashiach, did not get rid of them. He had not abolished them. He had not put them on the cross. He said they're for all time and for all generations.
Yep, and for all generations. And thank you very much, Eli. Okay, now I'm going to switch the microphone to the other side because I figured it out yesterday since people can't hear Cade and they wonder if he can talk from the chest. So I'll put this right here so that we might be within a distance.
It's this side.
Are you sure it's this side?
Yeah, it's this.
It's been on his side. I'm going to flip it back. It's been on his side the entire time, folks. I guess nobody can hear him.
Don't hold his microphone.
Yeah, okay. So, Kate, speak into that microphone when we talk. All right, everybody. So let's get on to this right here. And these are the words of Messiah, Yahushua, and they are amazing. And let's start at 34, where we are at. Okay, 34. They who stood about Yahushua ask, who is chosen to enter heaven, and how is the selection made? Yahushua explained in this manner. A king decided to collect all debts due and ordered those who owed money to come before him. One of these was so heavily indebted that he was in no position to repay. So the king ordered that he be sold into slavery to satisfy the debt. The debtor begged the king to be patient, saying that given time, every last farthing would be paid. The king, taking pity on him, released the debtor from his obligations. A few days afterwards, the king's debtor met a poor man who owed him a small amount. And the king's debtor took hold of him and said, repay the money due to me at once, for I have no patience with defaulters. The poor man begged him to be patient, saying that given time he would repay in full. But the other would not have it and had the poor man committed to prison.
So, we hear the story. I read it when I was fixing, Mark, And it doesn't mention a king. It's said a little different. I think it mentions some, work labor guy, but it's not a king.
Right, the same story. Where are you talking about? In what?
This is the same story.
Yeah, well, this is the same story, but yet with a little different thing, right? Because we have heard this exact same parable before in just a few different kind of details on this. Okay, did you have a point on that? Just that you heard it? Okay, here we go. The poor man's friends reported the matter to the king, who had his debtor brought before him. And he said, you villain, because you pleaded with me to have pity, I released you from the whole of your debt. Had I not done so, you would have thought me harsh. Yet what consideration have you shown? Then the king condemned the man to severe punishment until the whole of the debt was paid. In this manner, men are chosen for heaven. All right, let's talk about this, guys. Messiah just told us a key to the kingdom on how men are going to be chosen for heaven. Using this parable, what can we understand from this?
I think it's Yahuwah forgives us so that we should forgive others, and if we're not forgiving of others, then we are not going to make it to heaven.
Yeah, and that is the mercy of our Creator, is that he gave us a Messiah, and by our Messiah, we have a chance at the kingdom to come. But if we are taking the great gift that we have, which is mercy, and we don't give any mercy whatsoever, then we shouldn't expect that in the kingdom to come. 38. And therefore I say very earnestly, deal with others as you would be dealt with, not holding one Torah in your heart for yourself and letting another issue from your lips for others. Prepare yourselves for entry into heaven, for this can only be done here and is the purpose of earth. Do not think that because you are not immediately chastised, your iniquities are overlooked. Okay? This is very hardcore stuff to understand. What do you guys make of this?
Your punishment always won't come immediately. That you're like, I just sitting like, I'm forgiven, I'm all right, but you might get charged for it later.
Yeah, you might get, you're definitely, but also, it talks about having one Torah in your heart and then letting another issue from your lips. That is, do what I say, not as I do, kind of one of those things. We know the Torah. And if we are saying things contrary to what the Torah has and from our lips, and there's a lot of things that we can execute off of our lips and off of our tongue that become reality. And so when we are allowing our heart to control our lips and our mind and we say evil things, there's a ton of there's a ton of things that we're going to be judged by this. And if we are judging the world by a different regard of what the Torah that we know, we're in trouble. 39. A sower went out into his grain field and sowed with good seed. But during the night, an enemy came and strewed wheat like weeds over the ground and went away. After the wheat blades had sprouted and the stalks began to form wheat heads, the weeds among them were revealed. Then the field laborer went to the landholder and said, "The field was sown with good seed, and yet it is now full of weeds. Shall we go and pull them up?" The landowner answered, "Someone who wishes to harm me has done this. But in pulling up the weeds, you may do more damage. Let us grow together until harvesting time. Then the reapers can separate the weeds from the wheat, stacking the weeds for burning and gathering the wheat into the granary." Okay, we've heard this before. This is a different thing. Jade, what do you have for this?
No, this is pretty similar to the other one. I think in the gospel itself, it says the adversary went and spread it instead of somebody else.
The enemy has done this. I
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, this one says the adversary. Like it mentions, like specifically Hassan does this, but
So what does this look like, Cade, in our lives? How we're a planted field. What is coming up out of us?
We're in this world where planted fields were like there to grow, right? But there's going to be people that are weeds, that are not going to make it to heaven, that are there trying to take us off the path, like the emissaries of Hasatan. And Yahuwah said, "Don't kill them all off the world." He said he's just going to let them grow at the end of the judgment day. When it's all time to harvest the people, when it's time to go bring his people back, he will separate those who are evil, those who are the weeds, and he will separate the good and bring the good in.
Yeah, and Jade, as a farmer out in the middle of a jungle, what is your biggest adversary?
weeds.
Weeds. And what are you going to be doing today?
Weeding the garden.
Weeding the garden. And what happens if we don't weed the garden?
Well, the weeds come up and they kill your crop.
And how exactly does a weed work? And when it comes to a crop, why?
It like basically use that as a host and lives off that, like eats your plant and kills your plant.
Yeah, and it wraps up around it, and it's a huge mess, and it's crazy because weeds come out of nowhere. We have no idea where they come from. Okay, 41. Therefore, because transgressors go unpunished here, do not think they are overlooked or that there is not a day of accounting. This is very important, everyone. Listen up. Not a single deed or thought, whether it be good or bad, is overlooked. Gentlemen, we may have a problem here. Go. What do you have to say?
Basically, even if you make it to the end of time, you're still judged. You might make it all the way. You're like, I think I'm good, unpunished. Then right at the end of time, you're like, well, you did this. You can't listen to your sins.
Yeah, this is one of these things that is a dangerous words, right? Not a single deed or thought, whether it be good or bad, is overlooked, right? We are going to have to account for every single thing, be it thought or it be deed. Very, very important that we understand that it's what we think as well as what we do, right? And so the man's mind can become very, very weeded up very, very quickly. 42. One in the crowd said, "But our thoughts harm no one." Yahushua replied, "Only yourself, for thoughts mold, strengthening or weakening the Ruach. Is it not written, the nature of man is formed according to his thoughts?" Yahushua was asked, "What then is the Ruach? For the holy books do not make this clear." We go pet Tubby, please, Eli. Sorry, everyone. Trying to get my kid to wake up here, and he would not wake up for me. Okay. He replied, "The Ruach of man may be likened to a date seed planted in the darkness of the ground, giving no indication to anyone not knowing its nature of what it will become. When the tree springing from it is full grown, it spreads out in the sunshine, a haven for birds and a source of pleasure for men. Or it may be likened to leaven, which a woman places in a bushel of flour. There it spreads throughout the whole to change its nature."
I'm pretty sure another version is a mustard seed. But
We've heard, yeah, and we would always wonder. There's always going to be these people that go, well, it contradicts Luke or contradicts Matthew, or it's not the exact same. It's not supposed to be the exact same. That's what Messiah said.
The point is the exact same. The meaning is the exact same. It's a different type of plant.
Yes, different. It is for the understanding of people, so that people are able to understand this correctly. And I'm sitting here with a pit bull with my hand in a pit bull's mouth. Okay, just let him bite my hand. It's okay. All right, we're gonna have to pause this real quick. Sorry, everyone. All right, so we know that when we are putting leaven inside of flour, it will grow up. And so, what is Messiah talking about here?
So he's saying that we are the date seeds, we are the good seeds, and when we plant, if we are good seeds, if we're not the weeds, we get planted and we will grow up, we'll spread out. Basically, we create a nest for people to come, like the people, the birds, and they come and like learn from us. They come and like we make it bigger. We make the world a better place.
Yeah, it should. That's what we should be, making the world a better place. Okay, 46. It is like a treasure buried in waste ground. The plot had no value until it was rumored that a treasure was there. Then men bid against each other to obtain it. While within the egg, a chick is self-sustaining. But once the shell is broken, it must be fed. So it is with the Ruach of man and the Ruach HaKodesh. I assure you that every plant not nourished by the waters of life will wither and die. All right, so somehow our spirit is now being compared to a chick and an egg.
Because if we don't keep giving ourselves like Torah and Bible stuff and like learning and seeking the Creator, our spirit's going to fade away and we're going to walk into worldly stuff. We're not going to care anymore, and we're basically don't grow our spirit.
Yeah, and I guess it kind of reminds me of your mama's sourdough. She has this sourdough leaven stuff, and she always has to like take stuff out and she has to feed it. And if she doesn't feed it, the thing dies. And I've heard that over the years or something like, my sourdough died or something, like she didn't feed it enough or something happened to it. But this is the same with our soul, right? You can find the answers, you can find the solution, you can find the kingdom. But if you don't keep in the Torah, if you do not keep surrounded by those who are in the Torah, then you are going to not be feeding yourself what it needs. And you could very easily fall back into the world. And that's what we're trying to avoid. 47. Several in the crowd said, "Tell us again about those who enter the kingdom of heaven." Yahushua replied with these parables. "A mittens may be likened to a wedding feast prepared by a king for his son. He dispatched servants inviting many guests. But though each was told, the feast is preparing even now. The geese and beasts are being roasted. The bread is in the ovens, and there is wine on the tables. Yet those invited ignored the messengers, saying they were too busy with their own affairs, while they abused or even ill-treated them. When this came to the ears of the king, he sent soldiers to take those who had ill-treated his messengers and confine them in dismal dungeons." Okay, there's more to this little story, but there's something that I got from this that I did not know. I did not know geese were clean animals. We always had this discussion about ducks and geese.
Ducks.
Well, I always thought ducks were not clean, and based upon this, and there was always a discussion. But I mean, this is one thing as well, the geese. And when I read this morning, I looked at your mom. I go, I think geese are clean animals because Messiah is putting this into this, and so this might be one of these confirmations that possibly geese might be clean animals. As well as ducks. I always thought ducks and geese were unclean animals. But I don't know. Maybe Brother Glenn knows. And it's one of those things that even, everybody has a little feedback on this whole thing. It's hard to figure this out. But anyway. Did he? Yeah. On that? I can't remember, but I don't know. I always thought geese were unclean. But Messiah's talking about it here, so I will go with what Messiah says. Although I haven't seen a geese. I don't think there's geese in South America here, so I don't think there's one. Okay. The king then said to his servants, "Though I prepared a sumptuous feast, those I invited were unworthy of the honor I paid them. Go out again and invite any who will come." The servants went out into the streets, returning with many persons. However, while they were all seated at the table, the king noticed one who behaved badly, using lewd language to those beside him. The king called 2 servants and bid them to take the man and throw him into the dungeons with the others. But to make sure, he went to one where there was the most filth, so he would be in his own element. I have said before, though many are invited, few are chosen. Now I say, many choose not to come. We've heard this before, and we have a world with 4 billion, 3 billion Christians, that is so-called proclaiming Christians. If you ask them what religion, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. What do you believe? Well, I go to church on Sunday, I eat my swine, and we're all going to get raptured. That's what the Christian religion believes, and that is what they sell their people on. And it sounds good, right? Oh yeah, we can be disobedient, we can live like we want, we don't even have to keep the Torah, and we're going to get raptured away. That is completely contrary, 100%, to what Scriptures say. And so, what do we make of this story?
So the story here, so it starts with the people that are getting called. Like we get called, and like too busy with the world. They're too busy wanting to do what the world does. And then they decide not to come, right? These are the people who've been told the Torah, like, hey, you should follow the law. He's like, no, I don't have time right now. I'll get right with God later, right? I'll do my best later. Right now, I have to finish my worldly stuff. And then And the next part, he's like, all right, and then they throw them all in the dungeon, right? They're not worthy, so they basically get thrown into Sheol. They get thrown into the grave, and then they get the next deal. He's like, all right, invite some other people to Sheol, go out and find everyone you can. And then he like grabs some people, and some of them are good. Some of them want to be there. Some of them want to listen, and some of them actually go to the feast. And then there's a few people that are bad and evil people that they got called, but they didn't want to follow the law. They wanted acceptance into the kingdom, but they didn't want to do what the kingdom required them to do.
Yeah, and we've heard this exact same parable before. And this one actually caught us, right? Do you guys remember this one? Because we did not know. Because in the other parables, they just took people off the streets, and then one guy wasn't in clean clothes, right? The basis was the guy he wasn't ready for the wedding, and we didn't understand why the master went and took this guy into the dungeons. The thing is, we have all been prepared, and we are all being in the harvest. We're trying to get in the harvest of what is coming, and so the key of this is that people believe that many people are chosen, and even now, Messiah says many choose not to come, which is the world, right? You will completely talk to the Christians about, pig, not eating it, and they laugh at you as they eat it up, as you're just a joke to them. 50. There's another way for separating the wheat from the chaff, illustrated by this parable. A man left for a distant country, but before departing, he called his servants to him and entrusted him with his store of gold. To one he gave 3 bars of gold, to another 2 bars, and to another 1 bar, each receiving gold in accordance with his capabilities. The servant who received 3 bars went and exchanged these for silver, spending this in pleasure and high living, thinking that with all the silver he could have a really good time. The servant who received 2 bars was a cautious man, and he buried his gold in a safe place, for he thought it best not to take chances with it. The servant who had received 1 bar went and bought goods, which he resold, and by this and other efforts he obtained another gold bar. For he thought to himself, as the master did not think me as capable as the others, I must prove I am. When the master returned, he called his servants for an accounting. And the one who had received 3 bars of gold said, good master, with so much wealth I could not resist temptation, and I spent it enjoying myself, never thinking about the day of accounting. The master said, you are an untrustworthy scoundrel. And he placed him in bondage until the whole of the value was repaid. The man who had received 2 bars of gold said, master, I knew you were a hard man and was afraid to take any risk. So I safeguarded the gold. Here it is. The master said, you have been neither good nor bad, but took your ease while I was away. Go about your job, but expect no promotion. The man who received 1 bar of gold said, having only 1 bar, I increased it to 2, for I knew you would need gold on your return and have been a good master. To this one, the man said, well done. You have proved worthy of my trust. I will now place you in charge of my treasury.
So we basically have 3 different people. We have 3 different people that we can relate to this day and age. The first person we have like the weak person, right? The person who would know things is capable of nothing is like the first should be last, not the first thing. The smallest guy who got the least amount of money, he did the most work. He went out and proved that he could actually be a servant to our Creator.
Right.
He went and instead he got 1 bar of gold. He came back and brought back another person. Basically, that person is basically the Torah, and you basically get the Torah. You go give it to another person. You basically have 2 believers now. And so he did that. Then the one guy, he went and buried. He didn't do anything. He had it, but he didn't teach anybody. He just left it there. And so I don't need. I have it. No one else needs it. I'll just keep it for now. And then the other guy, he had the Torah, but he gave it away so that he could do the worldly things. He didn't care. He basically got rid of it all and threw his life away because he wanted to do the things of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so those bars of gold you could equate to the Torah. Right? And so what you're doing with the Torah is if you are not ministering with what you know, if you are just holding it on a shelf, if you're too scared or timid to let other people know about it, you are hiding your gold. You won't be promoted. You can come in the kingdom, but you're going to have to be the janitor, right? You're going to have to clean the streets. You're going to have to do something else, right? You'll be here, but you just won't have a great place, right? And so it's very, very important that we make use of what we have been given. If you even know what the word Torah means, if you live in the Torah and you know what the laws are, then you know more than about 99% of the rest of the world. You ask the people what the Torah is, and they're like, oh, the laws of God, those are gone. Those are gone. Okay, 53. One of the people gathered about Yahushua said, how should I treat my servants? For I have one who is troublesome, though perhaps it is his youth. Yahushua then told this parable. A man had a garden plot set aside for vines, but a self-planted fig tree grew among them. In the fruiting season, the man came to this plot accompanied by his gardener, who said, "This fig tree is interfering with the vines. If it is fruited, it might not matter. But as it does not, would it be best to cut it down? For it is only taking goodness from the soil, which could be used more profitably by the vines." The man said, "Leave it for another season, but give it a little attention. Then if it fails to fruit next season, cut it down. I like figs, but a new cutting might take a long time to mature. And this tree, having chosen its own situation, may yet prove more profitable in this plot than the vines."
So basically, this is I don't know how much we relate to today, but we can help people here. This is for basically helping people that we think can't make it.
Yep.
So we have this one servant who is troublesome. He's young. He's probably very fast. He's probably gets really angry really fast. And
He's just a youth.
He's
Kids
just
are
a
like
kid.
that.
And so Yehoshua talks about this vine, which is basically the world. He basically has him in the world. And he goes, all of a sudden there's this new plant comes, right? A fig tree can produce fruit in its pile of vines.
Right.
And he goes, "What should I do with it? It's interfering." And then one guy goes, "It's interfering." And Yehoshua basically says, "Let the servant live. Give him another season, right? But help him, teach him, give attention to him. Help him. And then next season, if he doesn't learn anything, then get rid of him. Then there's no longer to keep the servant." So basically, that's for us. We can basically help people, right? If we think there's someone troublesome, because this guy didn't think he could make it, right? He thought maybe this guy wasn't good enough for his garden, but Yahushua's like, maybe if you help him out and then give him a season of helping, then maybe he will be ready for your work.
Yeah, this is a story about the youth, right? Do we forsake the youth, or do we continue on, even though youth is woolly, wild, and youthful, right?
If you help them and reprove them, they might be able to learn.
And they might become that giant tree that is something that is able to shelter men, right? Take care of men, do stuff that, what we're all talking about, increasing the kingdom amongst us all. Okay, 55. Yahushua said, "If a fig tree grows among vines, it can be left for both produce good food. But if it grows among thorns, then these are cut down and the fig tree left on its own. If a man hires 3 laborers for his vineyard and there is work only for 2, he dismisses the one least worthy of his hire. Yet everyone who labors must be paid his due. But if one pour less than full measure into the task, he cheats no less than the one who deceives at the weighing." All right.
So this is basically for everyone. Basically, you have 3 workers, and you can't afford them all, but so you got to get rid of one and keep the 2 hardest workers. And then he talks about people at the payday, right? You get there, you've only been doing your job half as everyone else is doing. You haven't been putting it full into it. The other people have been working as hard as they can to make it to payday. And then you haven't been doing much at all. You've been cheating, you've been slacking off, you've only been done just enough to get by, to make the boss
Lazy man's work.
And then it's like you get your full paycheck. You didn't deserve that full paycheck. You don't deserve what everyone else got. You don't deserve to be equal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the world is like that. There will be people who are the complete go-getters and the people that are only there because they absolutely have to be and they would rather be everywhere else but there. And so we need to put everything that we have into every job that we do. If we are a worker for somebody, if we're cheating them, if we jump off to the bathroom and say we go to work and we spend 3 hours in the bathroom, we just keep sneaking off, and we spend, first it's like 5 minutes, then it's like 15 minutes, then it's like 30 minutes, and your boss and all these people around you, they're like, "Where are you?" And this goes on for days and weeks and months on end, and you go and you receive the same paycheck, whether it be food or whether it's that, but you do not do all this. People start looking, as people start wondering, what's going on. You got to be, if you're a spoke on a wheel, you need to be a full support of that spoke. If not, and you break that spoke, then that wheel is collapsible. It is very important that no matter what we do it 100% of everything, and we put it all into it because it's important. 57. Some self-righteous people who pick pieces out of the Torah to suit their convenience, as a child picks segments from a pomegranate, and lived by these, ridiculed Yahushua. So they were sitting there mocking him, right? Those who were...
They only picked out shrimp out of Torah, right?
Yeah.
Whatever they wanted to do, the pork is good, we won't do that. But we won't kill, but we will eat the pork.
Yeah, they're probably, are you here to make all food clean? Yeah, and they're crazy. 58. But he said to them, "You who try to impress others with your righteousness and are hypocrites. But what goes on in your minds is not overlooked. Admiration and popularity may benefit you in this world, but count for nothing in the world to come, unless worthily earned. I come to herald the rule of Elohim, when such as you will be swept aside by those who serve his cause."
So popularity, being popular in this world, having all your friends, being popular on Facebook or online somewhere, or like in a group, it's not going to do you any good. If you're not teaching the word, if you're just like being a worldly friend and you have popularity because you're worldly, it's going to benefit you nothing in the kingdom to come. Your friend, if you're not keeping the Torah and your friends aren't keeping the Torah, you're not going to make it, they're not going to make it, and the popularity will mean nothing.
If you are a friend to the world, you are not a friend to Elohim. That's just the bottom line. You can't serve two masters. 59. Some of the crowd shouted, Who will you take to serve it? Yahushua replied, When the trumpets sound the rallying call and two men are reaping in a field, one will be taken and the other ignored. Two scribes will be writing in a room. One will be taken and the other ignored. Two women will be grinding corn. One will be taken and the other ignored. Okay, is this the rapture the Christians are looking for? If it is, I mean, it could be a rapture.
I think it's more of a thing like in the end day when we're in judgment, right? You have, there's two co-workers working together. Like one was good, one wasn't. It's like you thought maybe everyone was good. You're like, hey, these people working in the field are great people, but then only one of them was keeping Torah and one of them wasn't. You're like, one will be chosen, one will not.
Yeah, and the Christians will jump on these verses and they're like, well, this is the rapture. Here it comes. We can do what we want. And
I think it's just saying everyone doesn't get picked, right? Everyone doesn't get picked for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Only some people, like, right? The people you wouldn't think.
And in this story, it's actually 50%, right? You get one person's there, one person's not, right? That's a really good.
That's more than the world will get.
That is far more than it will be. I don't know what the ratio is, but it's not good. 61. Someone said, Where will they be taken? Yahushua answered, Vultures gather from where the carcass lies, and bees where the flowers grow. Flies are drawn to stinking meat. Brave men converge on the battlefield, while cowards seek their hideouts. The day of decision will come like a roll of thunder, and on that day, those serving the cause of Yahuwah will be separated from those who serve the power of darkness, powers of darkness.
So you can see it's not a rapture.
Yeah.
It's choosing, when that day comes, that's judgment day, when you'll have both the people up there, both the people working in the field, and be like, you kept my Torah, you taught it, and the other person's like, you just work the field.
Yeah, and I mean, he puts it to like vultures, and they gather where the carcasses lie. Bees obviously go where the flowers grow. Flies, they love nasty stuff, old stinking rotten stuff. What do you guys make? It's very clear that those serving the cause of Yahuwah will be separated from those who serve the powers of darkness. What does the powers of darkness look like? How would people know they're serving the powers of darkness?
You'd be serving the powers of darkness if you're not following Torah. There's no in the middle ground. There's no black and white. If you're not serving Yahuwah, you are serving darkness.
Yeah, there is no other way. Okay, last verse. There were many other parables. There were many other parables which Yahushua used in this place to bring understanding to the people. He taught simply so all could grasp what he said. But afterwards, when alone with the 12, he explained things differently, revealing a deeper meaning. Now, I wish I had those books. I wish I had those writings, because I would like to know the deeper stuff. I don't know if I don't understand them to know. I might need the common stuff, the parables. He might have to tell me them in 4 or 5 different ways for me to actually get them. But maybe the 4th or 5th way, I'll get it and understand it. What do you guys make of this book so far?
So far, so good. That was 13 chapters of this part of the book. We had 2 before that. It's good. It doesn't seem to contradict the Bible. It doesn't seem to contradict the Gospels. It does have a few different things. Like instead of a mustard seed, it has a fig tree or something like that. It'll be a different kind of seed, but it doesn't really take away from the story. The story is still the same. The point is still the same. It doesn't take away the faith. It doesn't say to go against the Torah. So I would say it's still good.
All right, and so let's take a vote. Is this doctrine or not doctrine? Okay.
I think it is doctrine.
How's it doctrine?
Yeah,
Eli.
doctrine.
Okay, so we have doctrine. Nicole, you back over there? So I got 4 yeas on this. Everybody says this is part of doctrine and should be what people believe. Okay, guys, it is a preparation day, which means tomorrow is a Shabbat. And drum roll. We haven't done drum roll for a long time, but Shabbat. So feast, cook what you're gonna cook today, clean what you're gonna clean today. Sunset tonight is the beginning of Shabbat till sunset tomorrow night. And we hope you guys have a wonderful Shabbat. We love you guys very, very much. Our family's your family, and we are out.
All right, shalom.